The city at night looks different when you're moving through it. The neon smears across the glass, and shadows stretch across the pavement, hiding what people do when they think no one is watching. We are conditioned to expect a certain kind of hero to navigate these streets, an eccentric genius analyzing fiber samples in a lab, or a hard-boiled private investigator flashing a badge at a crime scene. But when corruption reaches the upper levels of local government, a badge often serves as an invitation to look the other way. Author Grant Tracey bypasses the traditional detective entirely. His neo-noir protagonist, Eddie Sands, operates without official authority, a private office, or a wealthy benefactor. Eddie drives a cab on the graveyard shift. It's an occupation that makes him virtually invisible, turning the back seat of his taxi into a moving confessional. Politicians, strippers, business executives, and drunks all eventually need a ride home, and they all end up talking. Eddie knows how to listen, but he also knows what to do when those confessions turn violent. He served as a radio operator in the Korean War, surviving the brutal combat of Porkchop Hill. He came home with a Bronze Star and an intimate understanding of how quickly civilized behavior breaks down under pressure. When a city's institutions are managed by compromised individuals in tailored suits, Eddie's position allows him to collect the tiny, discarded details that official investigations are designed to ignore. Tracey sets his stories in the fictional city of Winsome, a community where appearances are fiercely guarded. In the story, This Town Called Winsome, the plot begins quietly. Eddie rescues a local postal worker named Susan from a suicide attempt in a motel room. The pills and whiskey were an act of despair, triggered by Cordell Skinner, a wealthy local coffee shop magnate. Skinner had been using a private investigator to track Susan's movements, documenting an affair to use as leverage. This diagram illustrates how Winsome operates. Wealth and social standing create a respectable facade that insulates the upper tier, CEOs, publishers, and business owners, from standard police scrutiny. The authorities rarely look past the barrier of civic pride. Eddie observes the friction between Winsome's rival newspapers and realizes the blackmail is a proxy war. Skinner is targeting Susan's husband, a radical publisher, in an attempt to ruin his credibility and seize his advertising revenue. This corporate sabotage was fueled by the private betrayals of the Advocate Club, an elite social circle where experiments with infidelity provided the ammunition for financial ruin. In Winsome, a crime is never an isolated event. A single act of extortion is a symptom of interconnected institutional rot, where respectable organizations quietly close ranks to protect their own interests. This culture of compromise means mundane sins rapidly escalate into spectacular violence. In the story Thursday's Money, the narrative begins with what appears to be a secretive calendar photo shoot involving a local secretary. Eddie accompanies her as protection, only to find the shoot is a decoy for a massive heist targeting a bank payroll, an operation coordinated by Winsome's elite business leaders. These men have traded their reputations for a way out of mounting gambling debts. The violence is a desperate attempt to cover up financial failures before the community notices the cracks in their success. Their lies create a chaotic hostage situation. Eddie and his client find themselves facing men armed with assault rifles inside the hot pink confines of an abandoned bowling alley. Eddie relies on kinetic, improvised force to survive. His blue-collar survival instincts clash directly with the fragile, overcomplicated plotting of the elite. Tracey describes his own worldview as Pyrrhic. His heroes die a little inside to discover hard truths. When Eddie uncovers the architect of the chaos, he chooses to negotiate his own terms, trading silence for the safety of the victims. It is a calculated compromise. When the legal system is built to protect the wealthy, true justice requires operating in the murky, morally ambiguous gray areas of the streets. Stepping back from Eddie's individual cases reveals the broader psychological framework governing Winsome. The environment itself is a character, shaped by the people watching it from the shadows. Tracey's worldview draws heavily from mid-century cinema, specifically the philosophy of director Samuel Fuller. Fuller coined the concept of the third face, the primal truth that only emerges during a moment of extreme crisis, stripping away the public persona to reveal who a person actually is. Tracey translates this psychological unmasking into literary action. Much like the gritty cinematic realism championed by directors like Martin Scorsese, these stories strip away the polite surface to expose the raw mechanics of human behavior. Corruption in these stories wears a familiar, respectable face. The villain is frequently an influential neighbor or a business leader, attempting to bury a personal failure through institutional power. The real victory in Grant Tracey's fiction is found in the persistence of conscience. Justice survives as long as individuals continue to observe carefully, think critically, and refuse the convenience of a lie.